Hello everybody and welcome to Buy or Buy, the show where I take a game of my choosing, put it under a spotlight and tell you whether it is worth buying or saying goodbye to. And today we are focusing on the indie title Hyper Light Drifter. Now I spent about 7 hours on this game, actually exactly 7 hours on this game funny enough, and I've completed it from start to finish, and I've had an absolute blast with this game. But first, let me tell you my opinions and thoughts, just to see if you feel the same way by the end of this video. Now, if I can describe this game in one word and one word only, it would be unique. It tells its story through a couple of cutscenes, and there isn't a single word spoken in this game. Every time somebody speaks to you, it would be shown in like a comic book style, sort of like an image box basically, instead of like words. And the story basically is really left up to the interpretation of the player. All you really know is that you're this drifter, and you there's a bad guy in the land who is spreading this sort of disease throughout the land, which is making you ill, so you have to fight the bad guy in order to save your country. And that's basically it. I've even looked up some of the things that looked up some of the stories like on Wikipedia, on YouTube, and everybody seems to have a different interpretation of what's going on. And that's like brilliant. That's like a fantastic way of telling a story. If somebody can give you different ideas of what's going on, then it starts like a discussion circle and stuff like that. But I get that the majority of people might not like this because, yes, there were times where when I played this game, I kind of stopped and thought, what actually am I doing? What is my drive? What is my motivation to carry on and play this game? Like, say, for example, Super Mario Bros. Yes, your main goal was to save the princess, and you knew what your goal was at the time, but when playing Hyper Light Drifter, you're never really given a direct goal or direct motivation of what to do. It's just sort of a case of, oh, kill the bad guy and restore peace. Yeah, that's like the underlying goal, but you never know the deeper questions of like why and what are you doing here and how are these things how these things put place in the world and who is this guy, and just stuff like that. And I get why the majority of people might get turned off straight away, but honestly, stick with it. And even if you're not a big fan of the story, then that's absolutely fine. But like the gameplay alone is just enough to like keep you going, and I would highly recommend it for sure, just on that basis alone. Now, going from a negative to quite possibly the biggest positive I can give this game is the visuals and the soundtrack. My god, this is the best pixel art game I've ever played, like, period. I used to think that Fez was a really good, like, visually appealing pixel art game, but look now, Hyper Light Drifter just blows everything out of the water, and the way it uses its visuals and its soundtrack together to bounce off each other in different areas of the game is really impressive. Because this, like I said before, this game doesn't speak a word, and it's kind of left up to the interpretation of the player. So when you're in an area, you kind of get in this mood and this vibe or this atmosphere from the visuals around you and the music that it's playing as well, and it does that pitch perfectly. Like, I would absolutely really like to buy this soundtrack and just listen to it on my iPod. I feel like it is that good. Also, it does this sort of thing where it tells like it's got environmental storytelling basically, which Dark Souls does a lot of that, but this game, it does that a lot to the point where you at one point in the game, for example, you will be like on this cliff looking over to the other side of the cliff, and there'll be like this robot hanging off of the cliff, and you'll be like, oh, that's a pretty good environment, like. And then later in the game, if not I think 10-15 minutes, you get to go there and you get to stand on his hand, and it's just like, oh my god, I was over there a little while ago, but now I am actually here. And it's really good like placement in the world, and I don't know, I just love that sort of thing. Just personally, I feel like that is it's just really good game design, and I've actually got to take my hat off to that. I think that is absolutely brilliant. Another good example of environmental storytelling or just world building in general is you'll come across these characters every now and again that you'll see once or twice throughout the game that will tell you what's been happening in the world. and not through words at all, like I said before, but just through these little storyboards, like these little images, and it's up to you to piece the puzzles together to see what actually happened here. There will be this one guy that will tell you about like these robots started to attack the village or something like that, and then a little way down the path you'll get to see those robots like lying on the ground, like decayed and rusted, and it gives a real sense of like something bad has happened here, or something bad has gone down, or this is a world that is falling apart. And like Dark Souls again, this game is it takes almost cliff notes from that game, like because you'll be walking through Dark Souls, for example, and you'll see lots of bad shit around you, and this game kind of, I don't want to say copies, but it does its own interpretation of that. And I feel like I do love that kind of stuff, and I feel like it's done a really good job on that front. So before I start gushing even more, let's talk about the game mechanics and the combat. You have a sword and a gun and a dash ability as well, and bonds if you choose to go down that route as well, but I didn't. I just stuck to my sword and my gun. And the way it works is it's very clever. If you use your gun, it doesn't really have an ammo cap, but if you use your gun and you run out of ammo, for example, you can use your sword to start attacking your enemies, and then with each slice and each little bit of damage that you do to your enemies, that replenishes your gun bit by bit. So you're encouraged to use your gun and your sword simultaneously, because there are some enemies that can be taken out with guns, or are just basically a lot easier to take down from a distance than running in slashing with your sword. So it doesn't encourage one style of gameplay. And eventually along down the road, if you start beating bosses and stuff like that, you do get guns, like different guns, but I mainly stuck to my pistol because it was a lot easier to manage. But you do get stuff like shotguns, like energy waves, like electric shocks, whatever. It's all here. And the difficulty of this game, I would say it's challenging. It's definitely not easy. Don't be prepared to go into this game thinking that it'll be a piece of cake just because I beat it in 7 hours. It was mainly a bit of a grind, especially with some bosses, and getting to those bosses again after multiple deaths. But this game is challenging, is doable, but it is not not easy. It's just difficult. That's all I'm saying. Whilst we're on the subject of difficulty, though, one of the things that I didn't particularly like about this game is the trial and error nature that it has with the bosses. Like, it's very similar to Dark Souls in the sense that you go into a boss and you have to memorize its patterns and get it just right in order to beat it. And fortunately, I do love Dark Souls, and so I can deal with this game a lot more than I can with Dark Souls, because it is a little bit easier. It's challenging but fair, and I am a very patient guy. I can sit down for a good half an hour or so and repeat the same process until I finally get it done. And the satisfaction that you get from beating those bosses is just like Dark Souls, in the sense of, yes, fucking hell, I finally got it. But from an average Joe consumer, I can understand that it'll be a bit frustrating. And not everybody's into Dark Souls, I know. So not everybody's going to be into Hyper Light Drifter on that sense. So I liked it personally, but I'm not sure that the majority of people will, because not everybody is going to like this game. And again, like I said at the beginning of this video, this game is very cryptic, but not just with its story, with its menu layout, it's how things work in the world. Like, for example, you don't really the game doesn't outright tell you what the currency is and how to buy things and where to get stuff and how to upgrade yourself and where to go in the world. It is entirely left down to you, and that's fine, because if you're really determined, then you'll figure it out for yourself. I get that, but it shouldn't really be down to that, I mean, the game gives you a tutorial at the beginning, which is very handy and stuff like that. But once you come out of that area, you're kind of just let loose, and like the center of town does everything for you, and you get to pick things up as you go along. So I never really felt that need to go online to find out certain things, except for maybe one or two like locations of certain these little crystal shards that you will be collecting throughout the entire game in order to bring down the main bad guy. But Yeah, I enjoyed it, and because I'm a gamer myself, I do get those kind of tropes and like, oh, this comes with that, and that goes there, and I need to go over here first, then there first. But not everybody is gonna be a gamer, and if it's appealing to that kind of majority, that major market of like the everybody and anybody's really, then not people are gonna put down this game like because just because they won't understand what to do, where to go, what does what, and how to progress in this game. And it's a real shame. And that's why I feel like this game, I can't recommend this game to everybody as much as this hurts me, because this is quite honestly, I know that 2016 isn't over yet, but this is like my favorite game of 2016 so far. And yeah, I've played Dark Souls 3. This is like one of my favorite games of 2016 that's come out so far, but I can't recommend it to everybody because it's not going to be for everybody. So on that note, I have to say yes, it is worth buying, absolutely, but just be prepared when you do buy it, for certain things not to go your way, like what's going on in the story, and like how do I progress and stuff like that, which Dark Souls does very well, and it has that massive community around it which will tell you what to do and stuff like that. But Hyper Light Drifter doesn't have that big community because it is after all an indie game, but for the price it's charging and for how well polished, how well it controls, its style of gameplay, its visuals, its soundtrack, all these like positive things that get put together make a fantastic game, and one of my favorite games I've played in a long time. So yes, for £15 it is a good buy. It is a very good buy, and you could easily spend a weekend or a week even if you get stuck playing this game. But bear in mind, it's not going to be for everybody, and it will be hard. I mean, the last boss, or the couple of last bosses, did give me a run for my money at times. But some games do need to be challenging. I do feel like that the gaming industry has gotten very soft on us with these heavy tutorial levels and just sprinkled throughout the entire game. This game doesn't have that. It plops you right in its world, doesn't give you a backstory. It says, oh, there's the bad guy, you go kill him. Here's a little bit of how to start playing this game with you swinging your sword and stuff like that, and then you'll just let loose throughout the entire world. And that, for me as a gamer, is great. I love stuff like that. I love games that don't hold your hand and that just let you go and let you think as a human instead of, assuming that you're a dumb person and being like, oh, you press this button to do this like 50 fucking times. But this game doesn't do that, and I love it for it, because I do love games like Dark Souls, of course, like I've said. So yeah, before I ramble on, I'm going to close this video up. Yes, I recommend this game if you're prepared to, suffer the consequences with it. I do say consequences, but if you take everything I said into account and you still want to buy this game, then it's absolutely fine. But it is a little bit challenging and it is a little bit cryptic. So there we have it, guys. There is my buy or buy segment for Hyper Light Drifter. I love doing these. Hopefully I'll be doing more of these in the future, and I don't know what game I'll be doing next, but I'll definitely be doing another one, maybe an indie game, I don't know. So if you like these styles of videos or have something to say, like, comment and subscribe. Let me know if any feedback that I can do to make this sort of segment of my show any better than it may be. I don't know. So until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care.